Hello and welcome. You're tuned into India Today. I'm Akshita Nantagopal and we're continuing our non-stop coverage of the Maharashtra political pot boiler. Uddhav Thackeray holding a mega show of strength last night as he gathered with a sea of supporters to show that he's going to fight back. This even as Eknath Shinde's numbers continue to swell with more and more MLAs ditching Uddhav Thackeray and choosing Shinde. We're getting you all the latest updates from Maharashtra and much more. Here are the headlines first. Uddhav Thackeray leaves CM's residence Varsha and moves back to Matoshri amid rebellion. Totally cornered Uddhav flaunts crowds and digs in his heels. Rebels camp swells by the minute. 37 Shiv Seniks on Shinde's side. Agadi's numbers continue to dwindle as the Maha pot boiler gets hotter by the minute. Shiv Sena rebels shoot letter to Maharashtra Governor Bhagat Singh Koshyari claiming that Eknath Shinde is their legislative party leader. The resolution has 34 signatures. And let's begin by rounding up all the big updates that have come in the last few hours. One setback after another for Uddhav Thackeray as more MLAs are set to join Eknath Shinde. 3 MLAs have already reached the resort in Guwahati where the rebels currently are staying. The numbers at this point are going up because the information we have is that more MLAs are likely to ditch Uddhav Thackeray, are likely to ditch his Shiv Sena and join the Shinde Sena as it's being referred to right now. So the numbers right now are going up for Eknath Shinde. More and more MLAs now forming a beeline to that resort in Guwahati. Spells bad news for Uddhav Thackeray, especially because this is coming after he broke his silence. His emotional outburst, his emotional appeal, not really cutting any ice, not creating any sort of sympathy as MLAs are continuing to side with Eknath Shinde. Three MLAs early this morning reached Guwahati. We're still ascertaining who these MLAs are. Were they from the Shiv Sena? Were they from smaller parties or independent MLAs? But it's very clear at this point that more Shiv Sena MLAs are also going to be choosing Eknath Shinde. Shinde claims that at the end of this rebellion, that by the end of today, only 13 MLAs will remain with Uddhav Thackeray. That's a big claim. That's a big number that he claims to have drawn towards his side. And Uddhav Thackeray, as much as he put up that show of strength yesterday, as you see there, interacting with crowds, this despite the fact, mind you, that he's tested COVID positive, that show of strength hasn't helped because when it comes to MLAs, he simply doesn't have the numbers. And it comes down to a floor test. It looks unlikely that Uddhav Thackeray will be able to muster any sort of support really in the assembly. The Shiv Sena right now is putting up a brave face. But what's their strategy here to deal with this all-out rebellion? What's very, very clear is as they continue to pin the blame on the BJP, the issue is also with Uddhav Thackeray and the fact that there is unhappiness, there's discontent and there's dissatisfaction within the Shiv Sena. So let's explain for you what the numbers look like right now. How many MLAs are with Eknath Shinde? So let's explain to you and simplify it as much as we can. First was the resolution that was signed by several MLAs. 30 MLAs, Shiv Sena MLAs, signed this resolution in favor of Eknath Shinde. -1 from that because one of the signatures is by Nitin Deshmukh, someone who left and returned back to Mumbai and is with Uddhav Thackeray's Shiv Sena right now. So that brings the number to 29. 2 more Shiv Sena MLAs after that also joined, which means this is of course Gulabrao Patil and Yogesh Kadam. Both are from the Shiv Sena. So the number went up to 31. Now there are several supporters for Eknath Shinde in Mumbai. These are in fact the likes of Dada Busa. You also have Sanjay Rathod, Santosh Bangar. All 3 of them are supporting Eknath Shinde. It's likely that they will be joining Shinde in Guwahati very soon. There are 3 more MLAs right now who are in favor of joining Eknath Shinde. That's Mangesh Kudalkar, you have Sada Sarvankar and Deepak Hisarkar. That means that at 31, 3 plus 3, it comes to 37 MLAs right now. So 37 MLAs is the number that Eknath Shinde in all likelihood is going to get. That's the number he needs, because 36 plus is what he needs to avoid disqualification. Going by this, it looks like he's got that number. Vidya is joining us live from Matushri, from Uddhav Thackeray's residence. Remember, late last night, Uddhav moved from the official CM residence to his personal residence to send out a message, essentially, that he's ready to resign. He has no hold over the CM throne and doesn't want it. That was the message that he intended to send across. Vidya, with the way numbers are stacked up right now, it doesn't look good for Uddhav Thackeray. And with the kind of message that he put out yesterday, are we to assume then that, he's not willing to put up a fight anymore? He's going to see how things play out.
Well, it did seem like that, but certainly at this moment, everyone's really been saying that because he's down with COVID, not well, that's one of the reasons why people really are not able to get in touch with him, strategize what they can do. Though, yesterday when we had seen that he had tested positive in RT-PCR, in antigen, and he was still waiting for his RT-PCR, a lot of people had gone and met him, saying that he is negative, his RT-PCR will be negative. In spite of that, when he was leaving his residence, there were a lot of people there trying to tell him that, this is not the right move. He had made up his mind, and even though he had said that I'm not resigning, because Raut and all these people had been telling him that he should not be resigning, he still moved out of Varsha and came to his personal residence. He wanted to express that he does not want to hold on to the CM's post. He never wanted to be a CM candidate in the first in the first run itself. In fact, it was Sharad Pawar who had pressurized him to get on to the CM's post, for the sheer reason that it would keep all the three parties together and not create a ruckus, because obviously even at that time, when in 2019, when Shiv Sena had got quite a good number to stake claim with BJP, at that time also it was saying that Eknath Shinde would be the chief ministerial candidate if BJP allows that. But obviously the BJP was saying that they will keep the chief ministership, like the 1995 formula, where they did not get the chief ministership, they got some of the good portfolios like the home ministry and things like that, but they did not get the chief minister. So certainly, that formula really did not work out. So even now, how does Eknath Shinde really propose to go ahead with BJP? Will he be the chief minister candidate? They really want to see that. Thackeray's are waiting to see how actually things work out between Eknath Shinde and the BJP. Obviously, that will be in the long run. But right now, emotional fervor, trying to ask the MLAs to come back into the party fold is the only strategy that Thackeray's can now really at this moment see, because they have issued threats. They have saying that the party will be dissolved, the MVA will be dissolved, elections will happen. All that threat has been meted out. In spite of that, they did not come back. The MLAs refused to return. They went on to Guwahati. So certainly, there's not much that the Uddhav Thackeray-led Shiv Sena camp really has. The MLAs, in fact, they had, like Sada Sarvankar. It's in Sada Sarvankar's area that you have the Shiv Sena's headquarters. The entire area where Shiv Sainiks live, it's like the Gad, as they say in Mumbai, of Shiv Sainiks. That Sada Sarvankar has gone and joined hands with Eknath Shinde. So certainly it is a huge shock to Uddhav Thackeray, and the emotional appeals is what he can ask people right in this strategy. In fact, there were allegations being said that if you come back, you will get a better post. Alluring them with a better post and other things was also being done, but nothing really worked out for them right now. And that's one of the reasons why people here are saying that they will, just wait and see what will really happen, especially with the chief minister really catching the COVID and actually being isolated at the moment right now.
From what you're telling us, Vidya, and how you've explained to us some of these MLAs who are considered to be the staunchest of Shiv Sena loyalists actually choosing Eknath Shinde, it looks like nothing short of a miracle can actually rescue Uddhav Thackeray right now? And can he afford to do this entire wait-and-watch policy at a time when Eknath Shinde is moving extremely fast? But why exactly has Shinde chosen to rebel, and how is it that so many MLAs are joining hands with him? There's an indication of that and some answers that we can really get from the resolution that these MLAs signed in support of Eknath Shinde. They've said that there's great dissatisfaction among Shiv Sena cadre over Uddhav Thackeray, and particularly over the alliance with NCP and Congress. They're dissatisfied by corruption, by underworld links. They've made a mention of several leaders' names also, the likes of Nawab Malik, saying he got arrested for corruption charges. Party cadre has been harassed by the Congress and NCP. Now, in this resolution letter, they've said that Shiv Sena cadre, the Shiv Senics, are being suppressed for NCP and Congress to get their way. Forming the Mahavikas Aghadi with Congress and NCP had a negative impact. Uddhav Thackeray, of course, tried a lot of damage control on this, but it's clear that it was essentially the most basic grouse that's led to this rebellion. The Shiv Sena leadership has compromised on the party principles. That point right there is all about the issue of Hindutva ideology. Shinde will remain the Shiv Sena legislative party leader. That's the message, in fact, that all of these MLAs have put forth. Now, Bharat Gogavle to replace Sunil Prabha as the chief whip is another mention that they've made in this particular letter. What they're trying to do essentially is to ensure that the Shinde Sena remains in command right now. Paulami Saha is joining us with more details on this. Paulami, that gives us an indication of exactly what's gone wrong, why so many leaders are joining Shinde Sena rather than Uddhav Sena.
That's right. This has been something which has been in the works for a very, very long time. What Eknath Shinde is pulling off a coup of sorts on the Uddhav Thackeray government right now is not something that was, conceptualized or something which was strategized over the last couple of days. This was something which was in the making. Of course, the angst and the frustration was something which was being felt. The anguish was being felt by Eknath Shinde and those close to Eknath Shinde and those who consider themselves the original Shiv Senics for a very, very long time. They, of course, believe these who call themselves the original Shiv Senics, they, of course, believe that the BJP is the natural ally for the Shiv Sena and not the NCP and the Congress, those that they have, in fact, opposed for the past 25 years while they were, of course, in coalition with the Bharatiya Janata Party. So the anguish was growing for a very, very long time, but there was a lot which was happening in the background. Some sources close to Eknath Shinde and camp also believe that he was very miffed with the fact that, there was a lot of interference from Aditya Thackeray in the work of the party. And they believe that Aditya Thackeray, while of course Uddhav Thackeray was, ruling the state and was playing the role of chief minister was sort of officiating as the chief minister of the state, Aditya Thackeray was trying to take over the reins of the Shiv Sena Party, and they were not very happy with it, especially those senior leaders like Eknath Shinde, who had, of course, they're like true blue Shiv Senics. They had risen from the smallest of ranks in the Shiv Sena and grown to where they are. So they couldn't believe that someone who was so young, just because of, dissent, was coming into the party and was, in fact, trying to take over the reins of the party. So Aditya Thackeray's interference was one of the big issues. And then, of course, the NCP. NCP is what they have a major grouse against. They believe that the NCP was virtually running the MVA government. It wasn't the Shiv Sena, that the NCP was sort of, walking away with all the benefits, with all the meat as far as the dividends are concerned. NCP was walking away with it while Shiv Sena was working on the ground and was reaping no benefits from this alliance. And that is how it built up to this stage. First execution of it was during the Rajya Sabha elections, which was a success. Then, of course, during the MLC elections, again
Paulami, my apologies for interrupting, but I'd like your inputs also on the news break that we're putting out on our screens. Top sources giving us details of exactly what the Shinde camp is going to do next. First, of course, Shinde is going to ensure that he has concrete 37 plus MLAs with him. He's then going to be approaching the governor to prove his numbers. Governor will then ask Uddhav Thackeray to prove his majority. Eknath Shinde is confident that that bid by Uddhav Thackeray to show off his numbers will fail. Shinde could then join hands with the BJP to form the government. The BJP at this point is maintaining that they're on wait and watch mode to ensure that they see how things play out first with Eknath Shinde. They don't want to jump the gun. They've done it once before and faced huge embarrassment. But this is what we're picking up, Paulami, on what the next steps of Shinde is. He's moving in swift, he's moving in fast, he's getting in more support, and that's why he wants to strike while the iron is hot.
Oh, absolutely. That is the plan of action which has been, conveyed to us by our sources, top sources within the Eknath Shinde camp. That is the plan of action that they're going to follow. They want Eknath Shinde to, of course, have all the numbers in place. Again, not something which is going to be a halfway effort. So 37 plus. So he is sitting solid on the numbers in terms of having two-third majority. He then approaches the governor. In this case, again, it's like I spoke earlier as well, Akshita, it could shift to Goa. All of this entire, the process, the whole jamboree could move to Goa if there is a possibility that the governor of Goa, Sridharan Pillai, is then given additional charge of Maharashtra while the governor of Maharashtra, Bhagat Singh Koshyari, recovers from his ailment. At that point of time, of course, they will, then go there and say that they have the numbers, they have the strength, after which, of course, the governor is not just going to accept it at face value. He is going to ask Uddhav Thackeray to prove his majority on the floor of the House, after which the Shinde camp believes that if they have all the numbers, it's likely that Uddhav Thackeray will fail to prove that he has the numbers on the ground. And after that, only after that will they then, of course, go ahead and try and form government with the Bharatiya Janata Party. Now, again, like you mentioned over there, the BJP is, of course, maintaining a wait and watch mode as far as this is concerned. But this is the plan of action to wrap things up here in Guwahati within a day or two. Maximum leave from here by tomorrow, and then, of course, go for the kill.
Okay, so amid this information that we have about what Eknath Shinde is going to do next, let me also highlight, Paulami, stay with me, let me also highlight what the Shiv Sena is going to do. This is Uddhav Sena. The MLAs who are still loyal to Uddhav Thackeray will be holding a meeting today at 11:30 this morning. So at this point, the Shiv Sena are still trying to get their act together, kind of figure out what needs to be done. Kamlesh Sutar is joining us live from Mumbai with more on this. Kamlesh, good morning. There are a lot of questions about what Uddhav Thackeray can do right now, because early this morning, there have been a number of MLAs who are continuing to stream to Guwahati. He's losing numbers by the hour. I don't think we have Kamlesh with us. I'll take that question across to Vidya. Vidya, at this point, Uddhav Thackeray is losing numbers by the hour. It's clear that Eknath Shinde plans to go ahead and prove that he has the numbers, he has the MLAs with him. And that's why this meeting will be crucial, because it will give us some sort of a glimpse into how many MLAs Uddhav Thackeray still has with him.
Well, in fact, the Uddhav Thackeray camp does know that they do not have the numbers now. With most of the MLAs who had been with them in the last couple of days have also, have also reached Guwahati. So certainly their numbers are hurt, but they still want to manage and see if they can strategize and try to get any of those people, convince them to come back. Certainly that will take a while. That will also entail that they'll have to make some emotional fervor that Uddhav has actually been doing already. With him unwell now, it all goes on to people like Sanjay Raut and others who will have to start getting into the pitch, will have to do this entire work on their own. And of course, that's the reason why this entire meeting has been called at the Varsha, which is the CM's official residence. Though CM himself will be at his personal residence, where he is cooped in because of COVID that he has got. But certainly the meeting might lead up to something, whether either they are giving up or not giving up, whether they are going to plan to do something about it. They are also constantly holding meetings with the NCP. Remember, at this time NCP is also holding a meeting. The Congress is the only party probably which is not really holding a meeting. They had held a couple of meetings yesterday, day before yesterday. They are very sure that their people are not really going away. That's the reason they are not really in any camp, put up like the NCP or like the Shiv Sena. Their MLAs are, as free to go to their constituencies or wherever they want. But at this juncture, Shiv Sena is the one which is in soup right now, and that's the reason why this meeting at Varsha is extremely important, where they will probably decide what is the road ahead, whether they can really fight this out or they have to give it up.
Let's take this across to Kamlesh Sutar as well, who's with us. I'd like to also introduce Ashutosh Mishra, who's reporting live from Mumbai this morning. Kamlesh, to you first. Good morning. What's the Shiv Sena? What's Uddhav Sena's strategy here? They're losing numbers by the hour. It's not looking good for Uddhav Thackeray. Eknath Shinde is all set to make his next move, which is to approach the governor saying, look, I have the numbers.
Well, yes, Uddhav Thackeray camp seemed to be...
Apologies, we've got a problem there with Kamlesh's connection. I'm going to try to reconnect with him because Kamlesh will give us perspective on what Uddhav Thackeray plans to do next. In the meanwhile, let me bring in Ashutosh Mishra also on this broadcast. Ashutosh, it'll be curious to see how many MLAs actually turn up for this meeting that Uddhav Thackeray has called with all the MLAs who are on his side. Eknath Shinde claims that by the end of this rebellion, only 13 Uddhav Sena MLAs will be left.
Well, what we are seeing, only the number of the MLAs that are turning to Guwahati all the way from Mumbai. First we've seen from Mumbai to Surat, then to Guwahati. But remember, the party like Shiv Sena, which is a cadre, organizational-based party, and of course it is the sentiment that works with a party like Shiv Sena, the Bala Sahebs and the Shiv Sena's pride. So what we are also saying that in just outskirts of the Mumbai, in Thane and several other districts, Eknath Shinde's poster with his political guru Anand Dikhe, Bala Saheb of course also mentioned this. So that seems to be that he's also mobilizing the Shiv Sena's own cadre. He's strengthening his support within the cadre. Yesterday, right after the appeal by the Uddhav Thackeray, we seen Shiv Sainiks turned on the roads, streets, several pockets, welcoming Uddhav Thackeray when he was leaving all the way from Varsha to Matoshri. But remember, there could be a lot more, because what Uddhav Thackeray perhaps could be thinking that already since MLA have turned their side, but he cannot afford to lose his grip on the party, on the cadre, and that's what Shiv Sena's functioning is. But clearly Eknath Shinde is not only denting the strength of the MLAs but also to the cadre, and that's exactly being reflected in the outskirts of the Mumbai in several pockets, several districts where Eknath Shinde's supporters are putting a banner and posters welcoming him. And very significantly, Bala Saheb Thackera's pictures are there on the poster, where Aditya Thackeray and Uddhav Thackeray's pictures are missing. Subsequently, as Paulami rightly mentioned, that what we are hearing that Eknath Shinde could take his MLAs to Goa as because of the Maharashtra governor is symptomatic, the Goa governor could be given the additional charge for that. That also makes this entire operation really easy. But what is happening besides, there will be crucial meeting one after another. Uddhav Thackeray, I don't know whether he will be there part of the meeting for what we are hearing. The MLAs will, the number of MLAs, whoever are left with the Shiv Sena at the moment, they will discuss this strategy. But the way we are seeing, even today, this morning, 3 more MLAs turned up Guwahati. The another subsequent, very important, significant meeting will take place right behind me in South Mumbai at the Yashwantrao Chavan Center. Sharad Pawar has called up a meeting of the NCP MLAs, the NCP Member of Parliament and the senior leaders. Now all eyes are of the MVA alliance partner only on the Sharad Pawar, whether he can use some magical wind and turn this tide in favor of the alliance party. But clearly the numbers are on his side. And remember, day before yesterday in the press conference, what Sharad Pawar said, that he will activate, he will do something only after indication from the Uddhav Thackeray. Only if Uddhav Thackeray says that you have to intervene, only he can do something. So clearly that was some anticipation by Sharad Pawar that it is perhaps too late. The Shiv Sena really, messes totally how the house is not in really order, and that makes it really difficult even for Sharad Pawar to intervene at this point of time. But here in the meeting, what decisions are being taken? Clearly, that will be a deliberation whether it is a part of the Operation Kamal or it is some game plan within the Shiv Sena, because remember, Uddhav Thackeray has completed half of the tenure, and as it was the understanding during the poll when the alliance happened that first 2.5 years it will be Shiv Sena's chief minister, then it will be NCP. So whether there is some plan B that is working out, every strategy, certain apprehensions within the NCP are also being raised here. So clearly all those aspects will be discussed here, and then we have to see what further decision that Sharad Pawar takes. Clearly it is going to be really very important day here in Mumbai.
But as far as Sharad Pawar is concerned, yes, he's holding that meeting with all his MLAs. There's going to be some communication, discussion of what's happening. The reality, however, is that Sharad Pawar has told Uddhav Thackeray he has to deal with this. So he's left him to fend for himself, in the sense that Pawar is not going to interfere in any way in what's clearly an internal crisis that the Shiv Sena is facing right now. One of the questions that's most often asked right now is what's led to this rebellion. It's not just about Eknath Shinde, but the fact that so many Shiv Sena MLAs are now choosing Shinde over Uddhav Thackeray. So what has led to this all-out rebellion? Why is it that so many MLAs are unhappy, dissatisfied, discontent with Uddhav Thackeray? We break that down for you in our next report.
An embattled and emotional chief minister, fighting rebellion within the party, and raging resort politics. Maha Sankat is getting bigger for the Maha Vikas Aghadi. But after 2.5 years, what brought on this crisis? Why did Uddhav's loyalists split the Sena? An expansionist ally, NCP. The Shiv Sena leaders were wary of expansionist moves of Aghadi member NCP. NCP leaders were constantly touring the state. With the Deputy CM Ajit Pawar fiasco, NCP was on the constant lookout to strengthen its cadre. The second reason is a constant rift within the NCP and Sena. Being in power, NCP saw a golden chance to mobilize its cadre. NCP netas constantly held grassroots level meets. Despite bonhomie among the top brass, the ideological differences prevailed. All this made the Sena MLAs feel sidelined. With the Guardian Minister from NCP, the MLAs felt their request to get work done in the constituencies were getting ignored. Sena was willing to share power out of faith and goodwill, gave all plump posts to the NCP. But it stifled funds. And it was Eknath Shinde who was the savior, bailing out MLAs, allotting funds and announcing schemes so that they could continue constituency work. With crucial funds to MLAs from the Urban Development Ministry, the loyalty grew for Shinde, and he waited for an opportunity to strike. Bureau Report, India Today.
With several 30-plus Shiv Sena MLAs and counting, ditching Uddhav Thackeray and choosing Eknath Shinde, what are the options that Uddhav Thackeray has going forward? He could resign as the chief minister, but that's unlikely, going by his address yesterday where he said, I'm ready to resign, but Shinde will have to take my resignation papers and hand it over to the governor. So he's not going to do it. He could face a floor test. This is the most likely possibility, but Uddhav Thackeray is not for it. Inevitably, however, he will have to prove his numbers in the assembly. He could convince the rebels to return. He's been trying to do that. He's deployed emissaries. It's not worked. So it's unlikely that things will change in the next few hours on that front, especially with more MLAs actually ditching him, patching up with the BJP. This is essentially the only option that Uddhav Thackeray has, but it's unlikely because he's ruled it out. Eknath Shinde has put forth that condition, saying join hands with the BJP again. Uddhav Thackeray has said that is simply out of the question. His strategy instead, Uddhav Thackeray's strategy instead, has been to put out an emotional appeal. That emotional address that he had last evening hasn't cut any ice with MLAs who are continuing to choose Eknath Shinde over him. Non-stop updates coming in on the Maharashtra political crisis. Top sources within the Shinde camp have said that he's all set to now take his next step. What's the plan of action as far as Eknath Shinde and the Shinde Sena is concerned? He is now mustering up the numbers to show 2/3 majority of the party strength in the House, so that's 37 plus. He's going to be approaching the governor also to prove that he has the numbers. The governor then, as is in fact usually the procedure, will ask Uddhav Thackeray to prove majority, and in all likelihood, if everything goes as per Shinde's plan, Uddhav Thackeray will not have the numbers. He will fail in the floor test. Shinde will could then join hands with the BJP to form the government. Right now, when we've reached out to the BJP for comment, they've said very clearly, we're waiting on the sidelines and watching what's happening. They don't want to jump the gun considering all that's happened in the last few years. And what happened the last time around when the BJP jumped the gun? It led to Fadnavis being the chief minister essentially for 3 days. Now, Eknath Shinde, leading this massive rebellion, is all set to strike while the iron is hot. Paulami Saha is joining us live from Guwahati with more details on this. So, Paulami, Shinde is all set to reach out to the governor to prove that he has the numbers right now as we speak. Keeping aside the fact that Shinde is saying more MLAs will be joining him, does he have 37 plus MLAs with him?
Well, as far as the Shiv Sena's count is concerned, Akshita, there is a little bit of confusion around that because we haven't been able to ascertain the identities of the 3 MLAs that went in this morning, whether they were from the Shiv Sena or whether they were from, they were independent. So we have to wait and find out as far as the Shiv Sena strength is concerned. But before those 3 MLAs arrived over here, the strength of the Shiv Sena inside Radisson Blu Hotel in Guwahati was 31. And then, of course, like we've been reporting to our viewers, there are several supporters, there are others as well, legislators who are in fact not present over here, but who are in fact extending their support to Eknath Shinde. They might not even come to Guwahati, they'll probably go to wherever it is next that he's going to prove his strength, whether it's Mumbai, it's Goa, wherever he goes next, they probably will arrive there directly. And this includes Dada Bhuse, it includes Sanjay Rathod, Santosh Bangar, as well as Deepak Kesarkar. So these are some of the names. Now, whether these were among the 3 who went in, we are not very sure. But I can give you a total figure because we don't have the identity of whether they were Shiv Senics or independents. The total figure, just on paper, looking at the figure on paper, stands at 40 inside Radisson Blu Hotel. But like I said, there could be others as well who are supporters of the party, who are supporters of Eknath Shinde, who are legislators who could possibly join him wherever he heads to next in order to prove his strength.
Okay, so we'll see how this plays out, but it's very clear that Eknath Shinde wants to move, wants to take steps within the next 24 hours, because for him to, Paulamy, waiting isn't going to help him in any case. Rebel MLAs who are with him will start getting restless. It gives more opportunity to the Shiv Sena also to reach out to the MLAs who are with Shinde.
Akshita, could you please repeat your question?
I was mentioning how, Paulamy, for Eknath Shinde too, time is of the essence. He won't want to delay this because rebel MLAs will then get restless seated there in Guwahati. It gives an opportunity to the Shiv Sena also to reach out to them.
Oh, absolutely. He's not going to waste any time. The minute he has the numbers and he's absolutely sure of it in terms of having it on paper, he is going to go for the kill immediately. He's not going to waste any time because there's no point sitting back and waiting any further, especially because, like you said, then it could create some sense of discontent. There could be those who could have second thoughts as well. Though, of course, what we've been told about this lot over here at, of course, Radisson Blu Hotel, that they are extremely confident and strong-willed about what they're doing, and they want to go ahead with it. Of course, there are those from the Uddhav Thackeray camp and those from allies like NCP and Congress who are alleging that some of them are over here under pressure, that they have cases against them, that they fear central agency action, and there are all sorts of other reasons because of which they're here. And it's not purely because they want to follow Eknath Shinde on the path that he's set out on, and they do believe that, in fact, the Hindutva ideology of the Shiv Sena has been tainted because of his alliance with the NCP and the Congress. Now, while those allegations are of course being made, if there is even 2% truth in those allegations, Akshita, Eknath Shinde wouldn't want to take any sort of chances. He wouldn't want to wait any further so that anyone can have second thoughts about their decision to have joined him. So he's going to go for the kill as soon as he has the numbers. Like I said, we've been talking to our sources across, and they are saying that he has the numbers. On the face of it, he has the numbers. They might not literally be present over here, all of them in Guwahati, but he has the numbers. So it's only possibly a matter of time before he makes absolutely sure that they're all going to arrive at the same place at the same time and showcase their strength to the governor, whoever is in charge at the moment. He is definitely going to go ahead and do it. He's not going to wait any further.
So that's the clear strategy as far as Eknath Shinde is concerned. As far as the Shinde Sena is concerned, they're very clearly going to move forward. 37 is a magic number. Once that's in, immediately they're going to be going in for the kill, reaching out to the governor. There is, of course, going to be questions about how that's going to play out because the governor, Bhagat Singh Koshyari, is currently hospitalized with mild symptoms of COVID. Does that mean we're going to be seeing a stand-in governor also coming in? Paulamy has been talking about that as well. And the fact that you could say these MLAs being moved to Goa if the Goa governor is in fact chosen as the replacement for the Maharashtra governor for the time being, especially with all that's happening. Look at the numbers on your screens there. Uddhav Thackeray, as things stand right now, if the number of rebels has gone up to 49 and continues to swell up, Shiv Sena is down to just 18. And Eknath Shinde has said that it's going to go down to 13. He's saying Uddhav Thackeray will have no MLAs with him, but 13 legislators. That's the kind of dent that he's talking about creating. So in all, if you look at the assembly strength, the BJP stands to gain, of course, and that is in the likelihood that Eknath Shinde and all of these rebels choose to provide support in some form or the other to the BJP. Right now, they're ensuring that they're on a wait-and-watch mode as well. But things not looking good for Uddhav Thackeray right now. Maushami Singh is joining us live from outside Matoshri, from Uddhav Thackeray's residence. Maushami, everyone's going to be talking about what Uddhav Thackeray and what his strategy is. Last night, he put out this emotional speech. He reached out to Eknath Shinde, to these rebels. It hasn't cut any ice, has it? Because even today, there are more MLAs, as we speak, making their way to Guwahati.
Absolutely, Akshata. We are at Matoshri, and the meeting that's going to take place of the Uddhav camp is about at 11:30, but not at Matoshri. It will take place at Varsha. So that is indeed symbolic, because remember that after the presser, as the more MLAs have joined the rank and file of the Eknath Shinde camp, it's come as a huge setback for Uddhav Thackeray. Despite his emotional appeal, despite his drive from Varsha to Matoshri late in the night, it hasn't really worked at all on the ground. And importantly, when these MLAs meet at 11:30 at Varsha, apparently Uddhav Thackeray won't be there. So a lot will happen in the next 3-4 hours, because the NCP is also meeting. Sharad Pawar has called a meeting that will be at about 11 o'clock. So by noon, the picture could be much clearer. And in all that, the reason that, why Uddhav Thackeray would have taken that step after the presser, that I will move to Matoshri despite not tendering his resignation as the Chief Minister, is Matoshri itself, because this has been the seat of power since the 1970s, when Bala Saheb Thackeray, would run Mumbai, and he was ruling the roost at that point of time. You can see that security has been deployed. We saw Shiv Senics thronging Varsha yesterday, and also at Matoshri till late night. So we could expect, as there are twists and turns in this entire political drama in Maharashtra, we could expect some action right here. But right now, trouble continuing to brew for the Maharashtra Vikas Aghadi, Akshata.
Yeah, and at 11:30, there's a meeting with all MLAs, as Maushami pointed out. It'll be interesting to see how many MLAs actually turn up. It'll give us an indication of how many at this point still stand with Uddhav Thackeray. That number is dwindling by the hour. And as a result of that, those who are joining Eknath Shinde, that clan is growing in strength, inching closer to bringing down the Maharashtra government. The number of MLAs who are siding with Shinde Sena is in fact just swelling up. 4 more MLAs joined the rebel faction. 2 of them, Gulabra Patil and Yogesh Kadam, both from the Shiv Sena.
After his breakup with Uddhav Thackeray, rebel Eknath Shinde has slowly been building his own Sena. And the Shinde Sena is only growing in strength, inching closer to bring down the Aghadi government. With the BJP guarding his door in Guwahati, Shinde is watching the drama unfold 2,500 kilometers away from Mumbai.
कितने एमएलए हैं आपके पास?
अभी फिलहाल 46 है, उसमें और बढ़ोतरी हो सकती है।
सर 46 एमएलए की आप बात कर रहे हैं, इसमें से शिवसेना के कितने एमएलए हैं आपके पास?
टोटल शिवसेना के और सहयोगी दल के हैं।
और अगर हम शिवसेना की बात करें कि आपके पास 37 है शिवसेना के?
हाँ, उससे ज्यादा है।
The numbers of the Shinde Sena are just swelling up. 4 more Maharashtra MLAs joined the rebel faction. 2 of them, Gulabrao Patil and Yogesh Kadam, are from Shiv Sena. Uddhav has pleaded his case with Shinde in a public address, but to no avail. The former Uddhav confidant is adamant, ditch NCP and Congress and ally with BJP. Shinde has even reportedly declined an offer by Uddhav to take over as the Chief Minister. Shinde took to Twitter to list his grievances. Shinde claimed that the 2.5 years of Aghadi Sarkar has only benefited the coalition partners. He claimed that Shiv Seniks were cheated. He also said that allying with BJP was in the interest of all of Maharashtra. Sena has however claimed that they still have the numbers in the assembly.
उद्धव जी ने जो आह्वान किया है वो काफी है, जिसको भी मेरा इस्तीफा चाहिए मेरे सामने आकर मेरे से बात करिए।
नंबर कैसे जुटाएगी शिवसेना?
आप देखिए फ्लोर ऑफ द हाउस पे कौन जीता है, हम जीतेंगे।
Shinde has shown his hand. Will Aghadi government collapse like a pack of cards? Bureau Report, India Today.
Priyanka Gandhi is now touched down in Mumbai as well. As the Congress is ensuring that their flock remains together, Priyanka Gandhi reached the Mumbai airport at 7 this morning. She stayed there at the airport for about 2 hours, met with party leaders. She's not staying on in Mumbai. She's actually making her way to the United States. Brief stopover in Mumbai, but choose to also meet with party leaders to take stock of the political crisis that's playing out in Maharashtra. Maushami is joining us with more details on this. Maushami, Congress, of course, has already deployed Kamal Nath in Mumbai to ensure that there's no sort of rebellion or desertions within the party and to also take stock of what's happening with their allies. Priyanka Gandhi on her way to the United States, brief stopover, but using the time to meet with party leaders.
Akshita, it could be possibly that Priyanka Gandhi Vadra would be meeting the leaders to boost their morale. The Congress heaving a sigh of relief that in a situation where the Shiv Sena's flock has broken up and scattered very badly, it has, being the weakest link in the entire Maharashtra Vikas Aghadi, as many would argue, has managed to retain and maintain its stock. And Kamal Nath was the link that was who was sent from Delhi to Mumbai. He was sent by the party high command, and now Priyanka Gandhi Vadra meeting the Mumbai leaders, really indicating that the Congress party believes and trusts every MLA and is confident about each and every MLA and its state unit. So really, you know, it was more about saying that yes, the leadership is there and is backing you and is right behind you. At a point when the political tussle is on, each and every MLA and dissension and counts, that's where, you know, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra trying to plug in the leadership role here.
Okay, so Maushami Singh getting us details of how the Congress also is dealing with this crisis currently. Obviously, if there's a problem within the Shiv Sena, it's going to also hit the Congress. They may have their flock together, but the reality is that if the Uddhav Sena loses numbers, it will mean that the Maha-Vikas Aghadi also falls, that they're no longer in power, which directly dents the Congress as well. So Priyanka Gandhi is spending a couple of hours there in Mumbai, heading to the United States, brief stopover in Mumbai, and using that opportunity to meet with party workers, with party leaders of the Congress as well. Remember, Kamal Nath is also there discussing, in fact, with Uddhav Thackeray, with Sharad Pawar, all that's been happening in the last few days in Maharashtra. So we're getting you those pictures also, these images of Priyanka Gandhi during her brief stopover in Mumbai. She was seen meeting with some party leaders as well. And as Maushami said, in all likelihood, it is a morale booster as well. And let's in fact track for you what's happening as far as the Shiv Sena is concerned. Uddhav Thackeray late last night making his way from the Varsha bungalow, the official CM residence, to in fact Matoshri. That is his private residence. And he was seen with that show of strength, that show of support, the show of the Sena support that he enjoys right now. The reality, however, is that it doesn't translate to numbers in the assembly because MLAs are continuing to ditch him. Paulami Saha is tracking all that's happening in Guwahati. Paulami, you were telling us earlier about how Shinde has now expressed confidence that the numbers will dwindle so much so for Uddhav that he'll be left with only 13 MLAs with him.
That's right. That is what he has been claiming. Of course, whether he's boasting about it, whether it's overconfidence, or whether he's really got his mathematical calculation right, is something we will find out very, very soon. As you can see over here, I'll ask my camera person Ajay, in fact, to pan across and just keep showing you the visuals over here. You can see the security, which is, of course, tightened around the hotel. This is obviously, we're being told this is just a mock drill. There's nothing much to it. But what we witnessed, Akshita, between yesterday and today is that security has been heightened. The numbers of security personnel that have been present over here outside the hotel has only gone up. So basically now they are preparing grounds to get ready and possibly eventually move out of the hotel as well as soon as they're absolutely sure of the numbers. I'm not saying that's happening within the next couple of hours. It could happen tomorrow as well. But that is possibly the latest sort of a deadline. We were told last night itself by top sources who are, of course, privy to the details of what's happening. They told us that it is a matter of a couple of days at the most that things will in fact come to a close in Guwahati, and the action, so to say, could shift elsewhere. Also, we're hearing that there could be more MLAs, Akshita, who could be in fact coming to Guwahati today again. In fact, we were told that around this time itself, there could be a second lot again. We don't have a confirmation of that, but we're waiting by. But earlier in the morning, as we reported, 3 MLAs did arrive over here. So Eknath Shinde now in a huddle with all the legislators who have in fact arrived here. Some came in late last night, so there couldn't be a proper meeting, so to say. But there are those who came in this morning as well, and we're expecting that a meeting will shortly happen inside the Radisson Blu Hotel in order to strategize the future course of action and know whether they indeed have the numbers to pull off this coup that they have embarked on.
So you can see a lot of movement there behind Poulomi Saha as well, as many vehicles are making their way out right now as we speak. Poulomi also telling us that if Shinde sticks to his plan of action, which is to reach out to the governor, show off that he has the numbers, it will mean that perhaps he'll be moving out of that resort in Guwahati. You also see how several of the MLAs there, also the rebel MLAs who are with the Shinde Sena, as it's being referred to, also signed a resolution letter. They want Shinde to remain the legislative party leader. So it'll be interesting to see whether that's something that the Shiv Sena is in agreement over, because they very clearly, the first step that they took, once it was clear that Eknath Shinde was staging this kind of a rebellion, was in fact to go ahead and remove him as a legislative party leader. And that's the only step that they've really taken against him, because besides that, it's only been largely emotional appeals from Uddhav Thackeray, from Sanjay Raut, asking him to join back in the party fold. So that is, in fact, what's expected as far as the Shinde camp is concerned. Poulomi, coming back to you on what's expected in the coming hours, it's very clear that Shinde wants to make the next move. But, if you look at the numbers that he has, can you break that down for us? How many Shiv Sena MLAs does he have? How many independents, MLAs from smaller parties? Lost that connection with Poulomi. Apologies for that. We'll reconnect with her to get you all the updates from Guwahati. Our team of reporters also getting you every update that comes in from Mumbai, because there are a series of meetings planned today. You've got the Shiv Sena, Uddhav Sena rather, holding a meeting as well with all his MLAs. Will be important to note how many MLAs actually turn up for that meeting, because it will give us a sense of where things stand within the party, how many are in favor of Eknath Shinde and how many with Uddhav Thackeray. We'll get you all the latest updates on that and much, much more.